All right, so let's go there. We have been on the Python data types, right? And so far, so good. We have completed both the primitive data type and the composite data type. I gave us an assignment to sort out the remaining one, right? Which was sets. So how many of us research on that? We research on sets. Please, because of time, I will look into it in our next meeting so that we can complete our tasks for today. Now, we are supposed to take Python function. So I'm pending that topic. I'll come back to it because after all, I'm still going to work with functions. I'm coming back to it because I want to take this topic so that those that are joining us next week, Tuesday, we can be on the same page with them. So I'll know how I will do it. Maybe that next week, the first 1 hour, that on Thursday or Tuesday, I'll go back to the Python function. So they will just do revision with you guys. So we are looking at the following topics today. Let me use PowerPoint to highlight them. Python. So we are looking at the following topics. Let's see. Even if we did not complete them, we'll know at least that we'll continue from where we stop in our next class. So we are starting with how to, please make sure you are also writing how to create analysis notebook. Your notes, this is note now. This is just like writing. I'm using PowerPoint as my board. Analysis dashboard. We'll also be looking at introduction to Python libraries. Introduction to Python libraries. So I'll be looking at the following libraries: pandas, numpy, matplotlib, seaborn, we'll also be looking at how to import library, Python, how to import Python libraries into Jupyter Notebook. Into Jupyter Notebook. Number 4. We'll look at how to load data sets. How to load data sets. How to load data sets into Notebook. Definitely, time will no longer permit us to get to this one, but let me write it down so that you know what we should be expecting in our next class. Data treatment / cleaning in Python. So most of these steps, they are steps you must have observed with the last tool we used, which was Excel. But we are looking at them again since we are considering another tool. So we'll start with the first. So what is a notebook? I know I must have explained it to us before now. Can anybody remind us how we describe the Jupyter Notebook? I know in one of our lectures, I've explained what is a Jupyter Notebook. Before we started using it to write live code to learn pure Python, I gave us the definition. Who can still remember?
Let me try you.
Go ahead.
It's more like an IDE.
Is yes, integrated development environment. Now, what I'm saying is that as Python data analyst, what is Jupyter Notebook to us? Let's write. Jupyter Notebook is a web-based interactive computing environment. Jupyter Notebook is a web-based interactive computing environment. A web-based interactive computing environment that allows users to create, underline the word create, that allows users to create and share documents, that allow users to create and share documents. Comma, sorry, and share documents that contain live codes for the comma. Share document that contain live codes for the comma, live code, comma, equations that shares documents that contain live code, comma, equations, visualizations, and narrative text, that is comments. And what? Narrative what? Text. So if you look at that definition, who can now highlight, who can point out the core purpose or the main function why we use Jupyter Notebook as our framework in Python? For data computation, right? Now, remember I told us then that as a data analyst, you must consult a platform. And that platform, I refer to it the other time as the framework. You must consult one of the framework or platform to hold or to bring all data aspects in one place before you can what? Analyze them. Where I cited a cell that the worksheets, the spreadsheets, is an example of what? The platform that help us to do what? To bring all data aspects in one place for us to what? To be able to analyze them. And then I said something that's one of the reasons why Excel is user-friendly compared to other platforms, other tools for data analysis, if not for the limitation of not being able to handle what? Large data. Excel spreadsheet has in it library. That's what all the functions that are available for us to be able to what? To analyze our data. They are already embedded in that same what? The platform or the spreadsheet. But in Python, you have a separate platform, which is called the notebook. Then you have to import the library from somewhere else into that notebook before you can access what? The functions. So you cannot just open the notebook. The notebook is just a platform, just like an environment that hosts your data for you. It does not have access to functions except you import Python libraries that will offer us the functions. Is that clear? Okay. So now we already know if we go by our scheme, our topics, I say how to create what? Analysis what? Notebook. Now that we know which of the notebook we are talking about, which is what? Jupyter what? Notebook. So how do we create an analysis environment? Your step number one, you open your what? Anaconda. Please, I want us to be writing down the steps for future purpose in case you want to visit the notes. So we are picking this topic right now, which is number one, how to create what? Analysis what? Notebook. And I said your first step is to click on what? To open the Anaconda. Open the Anaconda. Hello? Hello? All right. So I was still talking about where did I stop? I think steps on how to create what? The Python notebook environment for holding your data. I said you open your Anaconda. And I want to believe we know the reason why Anaconda is involved, right? I told us that the Anaconda is a server, right? Is a server that is providing us services or a web-based what? Service to allow us to run our notebook uh, on the browser. If you look at that definition of notebook, there's a section where I mentioned it is a web-based, right? Which means that what? It runs on what? Browsers. Okay, so now once you have done that, the next step is for you to to launch the application. This is it here. That's your step 2. You launch the application. Then you wait for it to open on a browser. So we are assuming that we are starting afresh because what we have been learning since is Python, right? Now we want to start applying this Python in data analysis. So this is assumed to be the first data analysis class with Python. What we have been learning is since is just to get acquainted with the program, with the language. Now I'm waiting for it to open. I don't know if your own has opened. Make sure you are doing the same thing if you have not launched it before. Okay. Waiting for it to open. This is too many. All right, so this is how it will open for the very first time. And remember, I told us that you are supposed to create a folder, right, on desktop where your notebook will be what? Created in. So let's create that folder. So let's say mine is notes underscore book. So this is where I am going to install my notebook. So all in case tomorrow I want to transfer my work to another system, all I need to do is just to take this folder from my desktop, and then I can now open it in the what? The Jupyter, like the notebook in that laptop where you are transferring the file to. So I'll go back to my editor now, my notebook. So from here, remember that I created that folder on what? On desktop. Please, the data set you want to work with need to also be inside what? That folder. So let me quickly relocate the data set I want to work on, which is the same one you downloaded, inside that folder. Let me be sure that this is the data set before I locate it. So make sure that you are doing the same thing that I'm doing. Make sure that your data set is in the right folder. Okay, so this is it. So let me officially save it to the folder I created on desktop with the name notebook. Notebook. Then let me name it data. Now, you save it as CSV. There is what we call data wrangling. I don't know if it is your class that have explained that term. Data wrangling is supposed to have also taught you in Excel. You learn anything called data wrangling or data monging. Is there any topic like that? I just want to be sure. If you don't have it there so that I can take it again. Now, what we call data wrangling, you can just note it down. Data wrangling is the art of reprocessing given data, is the art of reprocessing a given data set. So as a data analyst, always bear in mind that they will give you data sets that are not properly what? Organized. So it becomes your responsibility to reorganize it. So the moment you start making some changes on the data set you are given, you are performing what we call what? Data what? Wrangling. Wrangling, yes, that is W-R-A-N-G, then L-I-N-G. data wrangling. So most time, the common use word for this is data cleaning. So that is what it also means. Are you with me? So it also means what? Data what? Cleaning. Now, which means that you are reprocessing the data. So now, one of the activities that falls under that data wrangling is changing the data format. Look at that, the challenge I'm facing here now. The data set was given to me in an Excel format. Now, I may find it a bit difficult, or I may decide to load the data set in Python, Jupyter Notebook, in CSV, or in Excel format. So what I'm going to do is to change the format from Excel format towards CSV, which is widely what acceptable almost across all the platforms, whether SQL, whether Power BI. One of the most compatible data formats is what? CSV. And that CSV means common data value. That is the meaning. That's the full meaning. CSV is a format for encoding data. It can also represent comma delimited. Comma delimited. Now, when you use the word comma delimited, you are simply acknowledging it according to the what? The command that is separating what? The values. Now, ordinarily, when you load data sets in Python, they will be what? Comma what? Delimited. That's what they will be separated with what? Comma. Kevin and hope you are with me. They will be separated with what? Comma. Now, we need to restructure it to be in column and row, the way it was in what? In Excel. That is where you need NumPy. NumPy is a library, which we are going to talk about in a moment. It's a library that make Python to read large what? Data format, data sets. So the reason why you can load unlimited data volume in Python because of what? That NumPy. It supports the data what? Structuring and help it what? To load what? Large data sets. So now what I'm doing right now, I am wrangling the data now. That is what? I am changing the format. This data set was sent to me in an Excel format, and I have considered the platform I want to use, which is the Jupyter Notebook. And that format, that platform, appreciates CSV than Excel. So that is what I'm doing. I'm changing it to what? Excel to what? To CSV. Look at what I'm doing. After writing the name, where you have save as type. Can you see it? Save as type. I will click there and change it to what? CSV. CSV. Now, mind you, CSV does not support your record spreading across multiple sheets in Excel. Once you have record in two sheets in Excel, if you are trying to save with CSV, it will not be accepted. That is where you'll be seeing an error that will be prompting up that you cannot save this. And if you still go ahead and click on save, by the time you open the data tomorrow, you end up having what? Just one sheet. The remaining aspect will have what? Disappear. So I click on CSV. Always ensure that what? When you are saving your file with CSV, make sure that what? They are all in one sheet. That is what I just explained now. Now, once you have done that, remember the step that I'm observing now. I'm ensuring that my data is in that folder that I plan to use, which is what? This. So my data is already here now. So once you have ensured this, then you can now go back to your Anaconda, your Jupyter Notebook directory, and reference the desktop and the folder here. What we are seeing right now is not the folder. This is Jupyter Notebook main what? Directory. So what you need to do, knowing your file structure, that you created your folder on what? Desktop, right? Inside that desktop, you would like to have your what? Inside that desktop folder, you would like to have your analysis folder there. The folder you are analyzing the data from directly from your notebook will be in that main folder. So I'll start by double clicking here, to, to reference the desktop so that I can see all the items in that what?
desktop as a storage environment. So what are we looking for now? We are looking for what? The notebook. So I'll go in here. Then you can see my data waiting for me. Now, I will now click on new to create my notebook inside that same folder. So from here, you select Python 3. It's part of what we have done. Then remember I said you have to what? Give it what? A name once it's loaded on the browser. So this is your notebook, which we are learning how to create. But before we proceed, let's find out how to change what? The name of the notebook, or how to reduce the zooming. Let me reduce it. Let me reduce it. So you click on the untitled in order to give it what? A name. Remember, as you are naming your notebook, you must not tamper with what? The extension. That aspect that say what? IPyNB. That is the extension that define your file type to be what? Jupyter what? Notebook file. So I can only edit this section. So the section I can say, okay, first analysis. First underscore analysis. Analysis. Then I'll click on rename. So I've what? Been able to change my notebook name, and I've also identified it uniquely. Question. Fail to fetch what? Please let everybody try it now so I will know where the error is coming from. I'm waiting. So now we have been able to establish our analysis environment. Now let's go back to our slide. So the next topic is what? Introduction to Python what? Library. Introduction to Python library. So that we'll know why we need this library. All right. Python data analysis libraries. Python data analysis libraries. They are a collection of functions or pieces of softwares collection of functions or pieces of software that offers us analysis functions that offers us analysis functions. So let's look at an example of the most used Python libraries for data analysis. Subheading. Example of the most used Python data analysis library. Example of the most used Python data analysis library. Number one, we have pandas. Pandas. So let's define what is pandas. A library for data manipulation and analysis. These, as I'm defining them, take note of their key strengths, as in the area they measure on. I said what? A library for what? Data manipulation and analysis. Full stop paragraph. It provides data structure like series, which means one-dimensional label array. It provides data structure like series. And what does that statement mean in brackets? One-dimensional labeled array. One-dimensional labeled array. Then close the brackets and continue writing. And data frame. So these are the highlight of what we achieved with the pandas as one of the library. I come again. It provides data structure like series, which means what? In the bracket, one-dimensional what? Label array. Then after closing the bracket, you write, and data frame. And data frame. So what is the meaning of data frame? In the bracket again, two-dimensional label data structure. So what we describe as data frame is called what? Two-dimensional what? Label data structure. So you can see the reason why that data set that we got from Cargo, can we describe it as a data frame? Yes. If it is just one line, it is what? Data what? Series. So that is all about the first library. Now let's look at another most used Python library, which is NumPy. 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 Num what? Pi. So what is NumPy? A library for efficient numerical computation. A library for efficient numerical computation. Full stop paragraph. Computation. Paragraph. It provides support for large, the line that large. It provides support for large, command, multi-dimensional arrays and matrices. It provides support for large, command, multi-dimensional arrays and matrices, command, and is the foundation of most scientific computing in Python. And is the foundation of most scientific computing in Python. So all these libraries that I've mentioned fall under what? Analysis library in Python. So all these will fall under analysis what? Library. So I want to look at another set of library which falls under data visualization. Library. So under data visualization library, we have matplots. which I also mentioned there, matplotlib is another Python library, but it falls under what? Data visualization library. So how do we define this library? Right. A example of Python library, first category, analysis library. Under analysis library, we have what? Two of them, pandas and what? NumPy. We are still under the example of Python library. Another category now, data what? Visualization what? Library. And under it, we are starting with matplotlib. And then I want to define now, right? A plotting library, that is graph now. The word plot here means what? Graph. So this is a library that is going to be in charge of all the graph, or most of the graphs we are going to plot. A plotting library for creating static and interactive visualization in Python. A plotting library for creating static and interactive visualization in Python. So we have another example of this set of library. We have Seaborn. Seaborn. What is Seaborn used for, right? A visualization library based on matplotlib. A visualization library based on matplotlib that provide a high-level interface for drawing attractive and informative statistical graphs. Let me repeat again. A visualization library based on matplotlib that provides a high-level interface for drawing and for drawing attractive and informative statistical graphics. So in other words, it still depends on what? Matplotlib graphics. So the next one is still under this category is Plotlib. Plotlib is a library under data visualization. It's a library. Plotlib. What is it used for? Right. A library for creating interactive web-based visualization. Yes. A library for creating interactive web-based visualization. So these are the libraries that falls under data analysis. By the time you go further to machine learning, there are other what? Libraries still in this same word, Python. Now, if we go to our notes, our plan for today, I said introduction to what? Python what? Library. And I've mentioned what? The ones that pertain to us as data analysts. Now, we want to go to the step 3 or the item 3, which says what? How to import this library into your notebook. Because I told us that these libraries, by default, they are not here. They are not in this Jupyter notebook. So once you have created your notebook, you have to import them so that you can use them to access Python what? Function, either for analysis or for data what? Structuring or for visualization. So that takes us to what? How to import we are writing in your notes now, how to import Python data analysis. data analysis library. Data analysis libraries. Data analysis library. Now, the syntax, the format, the syntax will be, make sure you are writing all this with lowercase. So you start by saying imports. So this import is a keyword. Once it turns to green, it's a keyword. Imports. So just pay attention when I'm through. I'll give you time to transfer to your notes so you understand how I'm declaring it. Imports, pandas. Pay attention now, stop writing. Import pandas as PD. So that as is a keyword. Once it's a green color, is what? A keyword. Now, what we are saying is that you are representing the instruction I gave is don't type, don't write. Focus on the screen, sir. Now, import pandas as PD. What we are saying is that as I continue to code, anytime I want to type pandas in full, represent what? PD. Once I type PD, is the same thing as what? Pandas. That's what you just said now. Now, you go down, we are importing how many libraries? Just 2 for now. Pandas and what? NumPy, because we are not going into what? Graphing for now. Now, I will also write import NumPy as NP. So anytime I want to use NumPy, I will just use what? Or type what? NP. Now, once you have written your code, you must execute it. You must commit it. You must run it. And once you run it by pressing what? The run icon here, it will take some time. What is happening right now is that Python is what calling this library. There is an installation going on. Once this asterisk changed to 1 or a number, it means that you have successfully imported what? Those libraries. So at the moment, this is no longer ordinary what? Notebook. It's now a notebook with the presence of what? Pandas and what? NumPy. So when I start calling functions that are stored in pandas as a library, they will respond. They are not going to tell me that I cannot access them or they are not defined because they are all what? Present. So let me quickly give us 3 minutes to update your notebook to this place, and you also transfer it to your notes quickly. To write your notes and also execute it to where I am before we proceed. So the next step, look up, the next step from our plan is what? How to load what? Data set into what? The notebook. You know the reason why you cannot load data at that time that you have not imported this library? Because the function you need to load the data, they are in what? Pandas. You see the reason? So if you have not imported pandas, if you are trying to write that function, which is called what? .read _CSV, it's not going to respond because it will be looking for where is the function coming from. So now that we have been able to import our library, now let's load the data. In case you are thinking that nothing happened, just made one mistake here now. Let me remove what? Let me spell this panda wrongly and run that code again so that you know that Python knows what is happening. So when you run it and no error like this is outputted, you know that what? Your code is what? Correct. So let me just add it back and then rerun. So our next topic is what? How to do what? How to load. You can be writing the comment alongside. Once I start explaining, stop writing. How to load data sets. In fact, let me specify the type of data format we are loading. How to load CSV data sets into Python into Python notebook. Into Python notebook. Now, I want you to pay attention here now. The first thing is for you to create a variable. Thank God that we have treated what? Variable, right? In our Python what? Fundamental what? Classes. What is a variable? Who can remind us again? Nobody? I said a variable is a container, right? That stores what? Values. Now, why do I need a variable? That data set that you have in Excel format, if you are bringing it to this, to Python, you have to store it in Python what? Memory. So that whenever you are calling it or you are working with it, Python can be replying you. So you have to bring it from wherever it is saved and store it in Python as what? Variable. Now, the variable, when I was explaining the concept of creating variable then, I said you cannot use a keyword. You remember? A keyword means I cannot use print as the name of what? My variable. So I can just say what? DA1 or data what? 1. Data 1. Because if I use data, data might be a keyword in this program. So now remember that I said after declaring the variable name, you call the what? The assignment what? Operator, right? And then what we are going to do here, we are going to attach the function we want to use to load the data set here. Is coming from somewhere, which is what? The pandas, right? So I will reference the holder of that function by saying what? PD. So instead of me typing pandas now, what am I using now? PD, because that is what I have declared in my first cell. Then I will concatenate. That dot means what? Concatenate. It means that you are saying that what? The function you want to call, which is what? Read underscore CSV is a function. So since it's a function, it must carry what? This bracket, right? So the expression is that read.csv is in one library, right? And the library is what? Pandas. Now, you are saying that everything, the data that is going to read should be stored in what? Data 1. So when next I want to see the whole of that data, I will just type what? Data 1. Now, this data 1 is going to act as our dictionary or list. Do you understand it now? We just finished talking about what? Python what? Multi-structure what? Data type. Those ones that can hold what? Multiple value. So I will not actually call this data 1 variable. Do you know why? Who can tell us the reason why we cannot actually call data 1 variable? Instead, we either call it what? List or what? Dictionary. Because we said that variable stores only one value, right? But what we are bringing in here now, is it just one value? No. So it's either we say this is Python list or what? Python what? Dictionary. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to supply the file URL. Where is the file? Where is the file? Where is the file? The best way you can call the file URL, just come to this place. That's why I say keep the file inside what? Your folder. Right click on it and select what? Copy what? Paths. Then switch back to your notebook. Then paste that part. Control what? V. Now make sure that what is what is quoted because it's a string. So quote it either with what? Single or what? The double quote. So after this, you can now execute it. You run your code. Let's run the code. Now we wait. Once it throws an error, it means that what? Always check the key error. Please, when you see a bunch of errors like this, don't confuse yourself studying audit. Just go straight to the key error. The key error is the last line, which says what? No what? Search what? File. And what is it complaining? Directory, right? So I am going to reconfigure it manually. If it doesn't work, I will just show us the final step on how you can do it. So what I'm going to do is this. I will remove this desktop. I will put 2 dots. That 2 dot means what? Go 2 steps backward. You will reach what? Where I have what? Notebook. And then you will see a file name called what? Data dot what? CSV. So let me run this. Sorted. Did you get the logic now? In as much it did not throw error, it exists. If I want to check now, I will just type what? Data what? Data what? 1 and run. You will see what? The whole data set here now automatically. That 2 dots, what we are saying in programming is that it's called relative method of accessing what? Directory or file. So let me start from here. If you look at this is where we are targeting. This is where we are coming, right? With the 2 dots. The first dot is to enter what? Desktop. Where we created what? This folder that we called here. Good, thank God we are seeing here. The first dot is to enter what? Desktop. Now, if you enter desktop, you will see what? Notebook. The second dot is to enter what? Notebook. And once you get to notebook, definitely you will see what? That is the meaning of that. Is that clear? Did you enter? Did you understand it? There are situations whereby it will be 1 dot. Who can help us to cite whereby it will be 1 dot? If the file is on the desktop that read, good, God bless you. If it is not wrapped in any folder on that desktop, it's 1 dot.
Desktop inside another file.
Good. You'll be doing that dot.
If there are 3 files, if there are 2 files for the desktop, 3 dots.
3 dots, good. But don't allow it to exceed what? 2 or 3, so that it will not confuse you. So where everybody? Let's get here. Let's get here. Okay, let me zoom. So start by copying the code first. Copy the whole of this code in this cell first to your notes as syntax. Then you now run it. So let me rename. Let me load the second data. Second data sets. Now, look up here. You know, you have already imported the library, right? Because you want to load another data type does not mean that you need to start loading the library. No need. You just start from here. Look at this. You just start from this line. You don't need to re-import the library. I will just say this one is data 2 equals to PD dots. I want to show us another way of reading now. That is the method that works for this guy. In case your directory is not working, you can actually use this method. CSV. So what I'm going to do is this. I will just take the name of the data. Look up. Where your directory is not working, like its own. So if I come here now, good. Now I have it here now. Where I'm using that first method and it's not working, you will just take the name of the file, or you can still copy parts like this. Still copy parts and go back to your notebook. Then paste it, Ctrl V. Then wrap everything in. You can actually use a single quotes. Now, what I'm going to do is this. If your directory, that dot is not working, just remove the whole of this. Let it be only the name of what? The data set that is inside the quotation. So that can also work. So I will just call data 2. Data 2, and then run it. So I have it here. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is now, look at, once you load your data set like this, let's pay attention. Once you load your data set like this, the first thing you are expected to do is to check how many headings and how many records are in this what data set. So if I was the one that, hello, let's continue, please, let me attention. Most of these things that I'm talking about now, if I was one that took you Excel, there's no need for them because there are things you will have known. When you are given data sets, before you start analyzing, whether with Excel, whether with Python, you have to what? Study what? The data, understand the values, the headers, the attributes of the data. Because if you don't do that, you will not be able to draft what? Effective analysis what? Questions. So we need to study the data. And one of the way I am going to study data here in Python, I will use a Python function called what? .info that will give me what? Information about what? This data set. So our next topic, right? How to check data information in Python with .info function. How to check data information using .info function. Using .info function. Are we together? So let's look at the definition of this function, right? The .info function in Python is a method to provide a concise summary. The .info function in Python is a method that provides a concise summary of a pandas data frame. Of a pandas data frame. Full stop, paragraph. It is usually, or it is useful, it is a useful tool for quickly understanding the structure and the content of a data set. So you can clearly see that you need this at the point of trying to study what? Your data. I repeat it. It is a useful tool for quickly understanding the structure and content of a data set. So at that point where you are trying to know what and what the data set is made up of, then the best function to use is what? What? Info. Now let's look at the syntax. How do we implement it on our data? Right? Syntax. Syntax. Now the syntax, let me just explain. Data set name dot info. So this is how you can use it to check. This is the format. You just call the name of your data set and concatenate it with a method. So which means if I want to check information about which of the data frame, data one. So what I'm going to do, what the syntax is telling us is that I will simply say what? Data what? Data one dot what? Info. That is all. And then if I run it, it will summarize it for me. Can you see it now? So this is the concise word summary of the entire data set you are about to analyze. This is the first thing you do once you load your data. Now let's interpret it together. Class, to tell us that what type of data is this, you know? We were saying the other time that we should see it as what? Dictionary, right? So it's not dictionary. It is called what? Data frame here now. Because I told us that what? Data frame when I was defining pandas, right? Data frame is what? Two-dimensional what? Array. Now, let's look at this. Is it two-dimensional array? Yes. Your data is arranged horizontally and what? Vertically. A table, right? A table is a two-dimensional what? Object. Now, let's go back. Now, range index. How many records do you have in this data set? 1,000. You have been able to what? To note that. Because, listen, because the day of your project defense here, you are going to use a slide to give us details about what? The data you want to present to us, the insights you have analyzed. So that slides for you to know exactly how many entries are there. You are going to run what? This info on that data. Then you go to your PowerPoint and what? Note it down. Entry. 0 to what? 900 and what? 99. Data column. How many columns do we have? Which is what? The headings or the feature. How many of them? 17. Now, this is the list of what? The 17 what? Column. Now, if you check here now, each of them are having what? You want to know whether there is a missing value, whether there is a column, there is a cell where there is no value. In as much, all of them are showing what? None what? None. Counts. 1,000, 1,000. Adibin, this one is showing in just a minute. All right, please, let's continue. So I'm trying to interpret this what summary so I understand what the function is actually doing. Now, admin here under customer, you are seeing 999. What does that mean? It means that what? In that customer what? Type column, there is one cell that does not have what? Value. So if all of them are having 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, you know what? They are all no missing what? Value. Now, there is a place where you can check data type. What type of data are collected under each of these columns? They are objects. That is why by the time, not in data analysis, in machine learning, you will not learn function, how to convert this. Because this date here now, I think we have date here, right? Date. They should not be what? Object. They should be what? Dates. Now, this place where you have monetary value, like total, where you have like 1,000. That's going to be what? Float. I think it's correct, right? Float is correct. But in case it's interpreted as object, then there is a function you use to convert the data type back to what? The type you want it. Now, if you want to know the memory space, the current memory space, this particular data frame is containing or probably what? Occupying is what? 100 and what? 32 what? 0.9 kilobytes. So have we all executed? Oh yeah, let's run now. Let's run. Let's run. Make sure you are transferring them, the code to your notes, the syntax. But once you see the syntax, you know what to do. So check both the info for both of them, both the data sets you loaded. So let me check for data 2. Coming.